Not everything requires that you have a lot of time, at least in terms of giving yourself a moment of relaxation. You do need to do longer lessons if you really want to change overall habit patterns, but we can refresh ourselves easily every morning or throughout the day with some simple moves. I would suggest that if you're able to, you would sit at the front of a chair. You could do this at your office chair. You'll even get something in it if you're leaning back against the sofa. But you'll find that if you sit at the front of a chair on a flat surface, you're going to be building more things than just the actual movement appears to be building. And I also would remove glasses. I would take off any heavy necklaces or any heavy earrings as well, because we're going to be working with the shoulders and the head and the neck. And if you can do that, I just think you're going to get a lot more out of it. Okay, so it's going to be a quick lesson. So start by closing your eyes and really just feeling into your bottom on the chair, your two sitting bones, your two buttocks. Feel your 2 feet on the ground, which are about knee width apart, pelvis width apart, feet underneath the knees. Then your hands resting comfortably on your thighs. And then begin to feel where your right shoulder is at in space. How much space do you perceive between your right ear and your right shoulder? Where does your right shoulder blade feel like it hangs or rests? Does it feel lifted, pulled out to the side, squished in towards the spine, pressed down? And then we're going to compare that to the left, the thing that we always do a lot of in this work. So you come over to the left side and you feel how your left shoulder blade is, the space between your left ear and your left shoulder. Is that shorter or longer than the right? You have a different sense here that the shoulder blade is somehow more held up or pressed down, or something different about it. Just where does the shoulder blade hang in space? And you could even come down and compare where each elbow hangs at the side. So you might feel one elbow is more lifted, you might feel one is more down. Okay, so let's continue now with the actual experiment, if you will. That's the reference test, so this is the experiment. So again, I would encourage you to close your eyes as much as you feel comfortable, because it just gets rid of all the visual stimuli and allows you to be in your sensation. But open them, of course, when you need to, or maybe you're in a setting where you can't close your eyes comfortably, but you could do the small movements. So begin to tune into one shoulder, and let's take the shoulder you want to improve. In my case, I want to improve my left. So let's take that shoulder and begin to just slide that shoulder up towards your ear. That's it. And then slowly let it return to where it came from. And slide it up towards the ear. And let it return. Now the return is not a drop, it's just a nice slow return. And right now you might have started out like I did, raising quite a lot. But let's see if we could go half that amount, only half that amount. Very interesting when you start to make movements smaller. And then when you come down to a rest, come down to a full rest before you start again. So that means you don't lift, return, lift, return, lift, return. But you lift very slowly and gently, half of what you can do, and very slowly, gently you let it return, and then you wait for a moment, maybe a breath. And then again, you glide the shoulder blade a little bit up, the collarbone comes up a little bit, and it returns, and you wait. Now, in the waiting, you may begin to notice that the resting spot is already lower than where you started. It's really amazing. And as you glide that shoulder up a little bit close to the ear, start to notice if you could reduce any work in the arm, in the elbow. Maybe the arm doesn't have to work at all at this. Maybe. And then come back to resting. And maybe just now one or two movements that's even half half that. So you begin to realize that you could just about do this in a public setting. You could do it in your imagination. So half the amount that you were at, and now let's do 1/4 that amount, still coming to a rest. So now it's really, really tiny. And now in your imagination, 2 or 3 movements. Breathing. Resting. Yeah, and let it go. Wow. I don't know about you, but already I have change, right? Yeah. That's pretty amazing. So now we're going to do a little work with lowering the shoulder blade. And we don't want to press it down uncomfortably. You might just have a little skosh of room just to take it down and then release it. And then just a little bit down and then release. And still in the release, have a moment's pause. Notice if your breath becomes halted every time you lift or lower. So here we're lowering. Or if you breathe in or you breathe out. How much work do you need to do in your right arm, right shoulder, in order to lower your left? Anything there? You have to use your tongue or your feet. And you reduce the effort. Now let's connect the two. So you just lift a very tiny amount, you slide down through resting and a little bit down, just a hair. And maybe coordinate it with your breath in some way. So maybe you lift as you breathe in or out. You do the other as you go down. You may begin to feel the breath can be of some value. You can try the other way. Whatever you chose, do the opposite. So I was lifting on the breath in, now I'll lift on the breath out. Good. Now pause for a moment. Just feel, what's the distance between that ear and that shoulder compared to earlier, which I think is less than 3 minutes ago. And compared to the other distance between the other ear and other shoulder. It's amazing how fast it can change. Okay, so now we're going to add a little something with the head. And so you have your ear on the side that you want to improve. You have your ear. We're going to pretend there's like an eyeball inside that ear. And we're going to tilt the head so that that eyeball could maybe see the shoulder. Again, doesn't need to be a stretch. That's not what we're interested in. So a little tilt. And just notice as you make that tilt, you could come back to eyes closed if you like, if you feel some kind of weight shift on your buttocks, on your 2 sitting bones. Maybe your weight goes over to the opposite sitting bone. Maybe it stays on or becomes even more on the side that you're on. You could play with these variations. So let's do both. You do one where the weight goes over on the other sitting bone. You do one where the weight stays on the sitting bone that matches the side that you're turning, or turning the ear and the shoulder towards each other. And maybe you do one where you stay right in the middle and you don't let anything shift. So go between those 3, alternating nice and gentle and easy. And then pause. And again, feel the difference along one side and then the other. So where does that shoulder hang now? That shoulder, that collarbone, the shoulder blade. Where's the elbow down by the side and compared to the other elbow? What's the space between that ear and the shoulder? And has it changed? Has it gotten even wider perhaps in your perception? Even if it's not in reality, let your perception guide you. You don't have to worry about whether or not it can be seen on the video camera, or if someone were videotaping you or looking at you, it could be seen. That's not important. It's not important. And when you're ready, you can do the other side. You could take a little break, stand up, walk around, and you could do the other side. Enjoy.